Good morning, everyone. Namaste. So, the last few days, alarmingly, I've received a few calls and notes and worked with a few individuals who have been dealing with what presents itself as seasonal depression or SAD, as we might understand it, seasonal affective disorder. And even this past Monday is sometimes in some circles named as Blue Monday. Here in North America in the early 2000s, a researcher named this as the most depressive day of the year. Whether or not that can be actually backed is to be seen, but what we do know from an Ayurvedic context is that there is something correspondent with this season, this time of the year, especially for those of us living in the Northern Hemisphere, that also corresponds with a time in which there is increased sense of depression, lower mood states, and also there's some correspondence in the statistics around suicide. So firstly, in saying all of that, I really truly request that if you're watching this, or if you have someone in your family or in your home or in your loved ones who is dealing with one of these things, that you expedite your reaching out to those who may be able to help. So any resources you can call to be able to help to lift that person from suffering and to free them from that. And so today I really thought to hop on for a moment and to share a little bit around the Vedic and Ayurvedic suggestions that we might have to help us to uplift and to move through this time and to bring some awareness to this time and what might be affecting us. So according to Ayurveda, we have seasonal elemental alignments. What does that mean? It means that the different seasons have different energetic influences on us, of course, dependent upon where we're living in the world. And so we've just come out of a season that was more Vata predominant. And what that means from an Ayurvedic perspective is that there was more air and ether. It was a more subtle time. It was a windier time. We've also had a time of the holidays for some of us, which is also a time that's a bit whipping. So it also gets us moving a lot. There's a lot of mobility, a lot of change, a lot of shift, a lot of travel. All those things might be there. And with winter, there's dryness, coldness, those kinds of things that might have been there for some of us. So we might have been feeling a little bit off kilter, a little bit spaced out. We also might have been feeling generally those qualities in our system of coldness, dryness, lightness, mobility. But then as we move into this later time of winter, starting now and moving onwards towards March, especially in where I am currently in Canada or in North America or in Northern Europe, this time tends to get more dense. So it gets more dense and more heavy. And this is what we would call more of a kapha season. So the kapha season is a season that's more predominated by earth and water. And so in that way, it has the qualities of density, of heaviness, of slowness, and also of coolness, of coldness as well, of moisture. And so all of those qualities we start to be subjected to. And so along with that, those qualities not only affect our physicality, but they also affect what's going on for us emotionally and also mentally. And hence the correspondence with maybe feeling our mood state feeling a little bit dense and heavy and low, we could say. So during this time, there are some really specific things that I can offer. There's a whole host of things that we can work with from the gift of Ayurveda and the traditional Vedic sciences. But today, let's just go through a few of them that might be boons, might be blessings for some of us as we traverse through this time. So the first thing that I would suggest is that because we're into mid-January, now as we've come out of this time of the sort of holiday movement and a little bit of the holiday chaos, is that I would really suggest getting everything back to regularity. So it's been a time of great irregularity, probably with scheduling, and then maybe for some of you, kids going back to school or going back to work or whatever it might be. And even if you don't have a 9 to 5 schedule, I still hear from a lot of people that they're just getting back to their schedule now. So this is one of the things from lifestyle that is very, very pacifying during this time to be done, to come back to what we call a dinacharya, a daily routine, as much as you can. Waking up and going to bed at the same time each day, eating your meals at the same time if you can, having stability in the times when you work and the times when you play, generally bringing a regularity to the schedule really helps not only the physical body to know what's happening and what's coming, but it also helps the mental, emotional level to really regulate. It helps the nervous system to stabilize. So if anything, I can suggest that at this time, regularity, stability, and constancy in the schedule would be very, very helpful for each of us. With that regularity, I would also suggest, coming out of this chaotic time, that we take time for alignment with the season. And what I mean by that is this is definitely a season of hibernation. Summer is really a time of explosion and moving outwards and longer days and all of those kinds of things, manifestation and growth. And the season of winter is definitely a time of hibernation. So to take the time for hibernation, to take the time for deep rest, actually rest is one of the 3 pillars of good health in Ayurveda. And so taking time for deep and profound rest, and that rest can be found in sleep, of course, and the restfulness that we get every evening. So really taking care of your sleep hygiene, to go to bed, as I said before, at the same time and have deep rest where you're not subjected to ambient noises or lights or using social media before going to bed, really entering into sleep with peacefulness. But also rest in your days. So that rest in your days can look like having time for meditation, having time for yoga, just having a slower pace, but also having time in nature. So I'd really suggest the restfulness of nature. Sometimes the hibernation leads to us thinking that we need to cocoon indoors. But make sure that you still get all of the gifts of the winter tide and the winter season that are found in nature. And you're still exposing yourself to the sun and to vitamin D by being in nature, even during this time of hibernation. And even though I'm offering the suggestion to move with the season in hibernation, there is something about this kapha season in its density that requires also some movement. So it also requires some conscious movement, some exercise. And so oftentimes at this season, I will ask people, are you moving? And that's why I suggest, yes, rest, but find restful movement as well. And that can look like exercise, maybe getting back to the gym, mindful exercise. In Ayurveda, we actually say in lifestyle suggestions that when we exercise, we should exercise just to the point where a bead of sweat begins to perspire onto the forehead, that we don't overdo it, that we don't deplete the system, but that we do bring ourselves to a point where there's warmth and there's vitality and there's vigor that moves through, and that we get the whole pranic body, all of the prana, the energy moving in the system, that we get the entire system moving and enlivened. So suggesting exercise even in this restful way, and that in and of itself can be a teaching of balance. So can I still get moving each and every day, enjoy nature, and yet at the same time be deeply restful? So this would be another suggestion that I would offer. Beyond that, what I mentioned before about vitamin D is important. And so I'm even noticing this as this is the first time in 7 or 8 years, that I've been here in Canada during the winter season. And so exposing ourselves to sunlight and receiving vitamin D is really, really important especially for our mental health, but also for our gut health, for the proper production of melatonin, which is one of the hormones that helps us to really feel at ease, at peace, and in harmony, and to be happy, to be content. So getting out in nature will be helpful with that, but so little of the body can be exposed. I mean, when I go out right now, so little of this body is exposed to the sun, and it helps with vitamin D absorption if more of the body can be exposed. So if you're not ready for the elements in that kind of exposure in the winter, then taking a vitamin D supplement can be really important. So a vitamin D3 drop or drops on the tongue, 1,000 milligrams a day, can be very, very helpful for each of us to just supplement with some of that vitamin D. But another beautiful practice that comes from the ancient Vedic tradition is actually to connect with the sun on a deeper level. And this is called Surya Trataka, sun gazing. And so I would suggest that this is a practice that we can all start to do. unless you are dealing with any kind of acute eye injury. Otherwise, you can, at the time around sunrise, go out into nature, and especially in that hour and a half to 2 hours after the sun has risen, find the sun and gently gaze towards it. And I suggest to begin this practice just with a gentle 10 seconds. So you'll gaze without blinking. So a soft gaze towards the sun, almost as though you're eating or ingesting the rays of the sun, receiving the sun for 10 seconds. And then when you finish those 10 seconds, gently closing the eyes and palming the eyes. So you can rub the hands together, bringing warmth, heat, prana, and then gently placing them on the face and the eyes. And even at that time, closing the eyes and feeling the warmth and the internal vibration and the internal even visualization of the sun. The sun not only provides the nutrient of vitamin D for the system, which then, of course, as I was saying before, amplifies so many things, so many physiological processes. But the sun also, Surya, is known to bring light, so to bring lightness. And in that way, as we gaze upon the sun, this can also bring light to some of the dark or some of the depressive or the more low states that we might be feeling. So a daily dose of Surya Trataka, just 10 seconds a day. And then I would suggest that every 2 weeks you increase by 10 more seconds to 20 seconds, 30 seconds, and eventually you may be gazing at that sun for an hour every morning. It's a beautiful ancient practice, Surya Trataka, sun gazing, that I give as a gift to each and every one of you during this season. Other things that I would suggest in your daily routine are some of the things we have here at Rasa Ayurveda, some of the things that over my years of having worked with individuals clinically, I've really seen are a help, not just during this time, but during our daily lives. But these are some of the highlighted offerings from our apothecary that I use daily, that those at Rasa use daily, and that I would really suggest for each one of you either to make at home or to replicate or to contact us and to work with. So one of the first things that I do each morning is to use our Nasya oil. So our Nasya oil is nasal drops. This is for nasal irrigation. What's beautiful about the Nasya oil is that it will not only help during this time with some of those low kaphic emotions that may be occurring. And so in that way, it has, you'll see in the ingredients, that it has some herbs such as Brahmi, form of Bacopa, which is actually the plant in and of itself is shaped like a small cerebellum. And this plant is really known for bringing cognitive health. So it uplifts and clarifies the mind, it increases memory, but it's also just a general excellent one for depression. So it has Bacopa in it, it has Brahmi in it. It also has another herb in it called spikenard, or Jatamamsi, as we call it in Sanskrit. And Jatamamsi is really, really wonderful in pacifying, harmonizing, and working with any kind of imbalances in the mind. I so often use Jatamamsi in the case of depression and anxiety. So the spikenard that's in here will be ingested in through the nose, actually, both the spikenard and the Brahmi, and some of the other herbs, of course, that are in the Nasya oil. So it has the benefit of reaching into the olfactory bulb and reaching up into the brain and being absorbed in that way. But it also is very, very helpful in relieving the physical symptoms of kapha that can occur during this season, which can be nasal and sinus heaviness, and having general heaviness in the headiness, let's say it in that way. So when we feel really a lot of congestion entering into this area. So Nasya is a beautiful practice, and we have this outlined. If you look for Nasya on our website, on the rasa-ayurveda.com website, you'll find that we have a little video on how to apply Nasya, how to use it each day, and it's a practice that I would suggest you start each morning off with. Beyond that, another thing in the mornings that I use each day, but also I really suggest during this time, is our hair oil. Again, in Ayurveda, hair oil is used for the lustrousness of the hair, but more than that, it's also used for brain health. And so in our hair oil, similarly, we have formulated in such a way that it also has the herbs of Brahmi, as well as spikenard. So it has those two herbs again that are not only beneficial for the hair, but again are beneficial for the brain and can be rubbed into the scalp and thus benefiting the brain. Actually, in Ayurveda, we speak of marma points, of acupressure points. There are 112 acupressure points throughout the body that correspond to different organs and functions. And in the head, there's a condensation of many of these points. So just by applying a small amount of this hair oil, even just a tablespoon of the hair oil to the top of the head, and rubbing it through and giving a bit of a self-massage, a Shiro Abhyanga, a self-head massage, you'll start to stimulate some of those trigger points, some of those acupressure points, and the head will start to absorb some of these herbs as well. It has also been formulated with some really beautiful essential oils such as helichrysum, frankincense, chamomile, which are all uplifting herbs, are all uplifting essential oils that also help in the seasonal affective disorder. So this hair oil is something that I would suggest, again, to be used daily. And again, you can check on our website for more details about the hair oil, how to use it, and all of the ingredients that are there in our hair oil. Other things, other suggestions, rather than starting the day with ama building substances. So ama in Ayurveda is understood as waste, and especially coming from a holiday season where you may have eaten things that now you might regret slightly, or if you don't regret them, wonderful, but things that may still be holding in the body. They may be holding in the body as ama, as excess weight, as some toxicity, but they also hold in the mind. They affect the production of serotonin in the gut, especially if our digestive health has been affected over this time. That relationship between our gut health, the gut brain, and the cerebral brain is more and more known, and it was always known in Ayurveda. And so that serotonin production could have been affected quite strongly over the holiday season if our Agni, if our digestive fire has been lessened. And so I really highly suggest that during this time you take some time to really get back on track, not just with your daily routine, but also the routine of what you're ingesting. And so one of the things that I would suggest is to take care of your digestive health with some digestive spices. And so at Rasa, we've devised a few different spice mixes, or what we call spice churnas. This is one that I was using today, hence all crumply. And so this is our tridosha. This is really good for all constitutions, and it's a great one that you can cook with for the whole family. And it's a beautiful combination of various spices that will help to improve digestive health, that will wake up and stimulate the digestive enzymes, but will also calm and pacify common digestive complaints such as gas or bloating or just general cramping or indigestion, lack of assimilation. And so adding that either to things you're cooking or taking it even as a digestive tonic before you eat. So mixing a little bit into some warm water and taking that almost like a digestive soup or a digestive tonic is a really powerful way to get the Agni, to get the digestive fire back en route during this season, so that we can truly assimilate foods, and also so that this hormonal production of serotonin can start to become more regulated again. So that's something else I would suggest. Or making your own beautiful spice mix at home, your own beautiful spice churna, involving and including some of the spices such as turmeric and ginger, also including cumin and coriander, maybe a little bit of fennel or ajwan. So there are various spices that we've included, and you can check that out at rasayurveda.com. Another couple suggestions I would have for you during this time is to include adaptogens. So adaptogens are herbs that do exactly that. They help us to adapt. And how do they help us to adapt? Well, that's through relaxation is one of the primary ways. They help to pacify and soften and rejuvenate the system. So in Ayurveda, a lot of adaptogens are what we call in Sanskrit rasayanas. They rejuvenate, they repair, they restore, and they really bring a softening relaxation to our system. And so some of those adaptogens we have devised into a couple, or we've put them into quite a few of our products. One of the best products that I would suggest during this time is our Adaptolife Potion. So this is something that I formulated that has a whole host of various both Indian Ayurvedic herbs as well as Western herbs, and we also have our super shroom, so medicinal mushroom blend that has come together to make the Adaptolife potion. And this can be added in different ways. So you might put this into a warm beverage in the morning, or you might also add it if you're taking smoothies, or you might put it into a bit of warm milk, whether that's non-dairy milk or regular milk with a bit of honey. Or you might even add it to food. So for example, a nice warming meal at this time is really important. Warmth is really important. And so say, for example, you're having oats in the morning, you might mix a tablespoon of the Adaptolife potion, which includes beautiful herbs in it, as I was mentioning before. So I've placed things like astragalus or Siberian ginseng into this. We also have mucuna and ashwagandha, various types of maca, and some of the types of super shrooms that are in this are things such as chaga and reishi, cordyceps. We've put lion's mane, maitake, and it also has gynostemma and schizandra berry. This is an amazing, powerful mix. And you know, when these things were formulated, it came really as a blessing of the heart and a blessing of the wisdom of Ayurveda in all these years. And I feel so thankful to the inspiration and the teachings of the various masters and teachers and doctors that I've had the gift of being in receiving with. And in the formulation of these things, of course, the hope was that they would benefit so many lives. But I have to say that daily, as I receive the testimonials and hear how they are truly impacting lives, it is so, so deeply touching. And so this Adaptolife potion continuously proves to help individuals with everything from immunity and vitality to rejuvenation to also really situations around anxiety and depression. And so that's why I'm really suggesting it as something that will help us to adapt to life, literally. So that may be an offering for your own life during this time that may benefit you during this season. Okay, and one other thing that I would suggest is something that you can take with you into your evenings. So this is golden milk. And some of you make your own golden milk at home. We have formulated a golden milk at Rasa that includes within it, it's a vegan golden milk, so it includes within it coconut milk powder. And it also has the beautiful offerings, of course, of the golden color of turmeric, as well as nutmeg and a few other items in it. And in our golden milk, we've also put the nutmeg because nutmeg is a natural tranquilizer. So it's very helpful with calming the nervous system and putting us to sleep. So one of the common conditions that I hear of with seasonal affective disorder is that the system feels low and depressed, and yet at the same time, it's hard to go to sleep. It's that combination of vata and kapha. There may be some leftover movement, leftover mobility, leftover vata symptoms where the mind is still a bit racy, or where anxiety may also be present along with depression. And nutmeg is very, very helpful in helping to calm that in the system. So not only is this tasty, but also the nutmeg and the turmeric. There's ongoing research about the benefits of turmeric, but turmeric helps in so many ways with seasonal depression. And so I would really suggest that you have a cup of this, a mug of this each evenings that will help you for a restful sleep as you make your way off into the evening's rest. These are quite a few suggestions that I hope will be helpful and I hope will really be a blessing for some of you today. The intention at Rasa and the intention really of my own life's work is that more and more of us will come home to the peace and the naturalness of what it is for us to live in contentment and in happiness and in joy. And I can really truly name that even for myself during this season, during this time, this year, I have felt the collective consciousness of this kind of lower drawing, we could call it, energy, this heavier energy that can happen for a lot of us. So I really hope that this will be a spark, even one or two of these things in their sharings from the wisdom of Ayurveda that you might bring into your own life or bring into the life of your family and your community at this time. May we all truly be free, and may we all truly, truly know what it is to live more in the peace and the abode of joy that is our natural birthright. So I wish all of you a beautiful winter, and I hope that this winter season actually is a time that you come to enjoy and embrace, not have aversion towards. Much love to each and every one of you. Namaste.